Back to ESPR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Gregory Doyle. Greg, good to speak to you. We're here to analyze and discuss Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. Didn't think we'd be making this video because the expectations were it was going to be so incredibly one-sided. It wasn't really worth doing an analysis for a one-sided victory. However, here we are. First question is, how are you? And what did you make of it? Bit of a crazy night last night.
Yes, Elliot. Crazy to say the least. Thank you for having me as always. It was a very, very bizarre event, and at one point I was a bit afraid for boxing. So yeah, I'm glad that it's all over now and we can look back and discuss it.
Yeah, it's it's hard to sum up the event, the fight in a few words. But yeah, it was definitely crazy, and I think that the knockdown in the third, it was one of those moments where, like, whether you're a boxing fan or not, whether you're a sports fan or not, it was hard to believe what you were seeing. Gonna go into it, Greg. We're not going to kind of analyze every round because some of the rounds not too much happened, but we're going to talk about kind of our three key points of the fight here. What was your take on the knockdown? How it happened, why it happened? What were your thoughts at the time? Give it to us.
Yeah, so Elliot, before we recorded tonight, I went back and I refreshed the fight in my mind. Can't say I had the time of my life, but yeah, it's still nice to be able to go back, look, see if there's anything that you missed the first time around that you watched. The knockdown for me was Fury get lazy. Elliot, he won the first two rounds with relative conviction. There was not a lot that happened in the rounds, and I think in Tyson Fury's head, he maybe thought Francis Ngannou was going to be a little bit gun shy. And I think if you watch it, his left hand is getting lower and lower as rounds one and two goes on. I think he thinks that he's got Ngannou under complete control in round three, and he just walks onto a shot. And when he goes down, it's like a flash knockdown, but he realizes that the power is for real. So a pretty surreal moment in the fight for me.
Yeah, look, it just I'm speechless now. I was I was speechless when watching the fight. Fury, he's been down a few times in his career, hasn't he? I'm sure you'll remember the Deontay Wilder knockdowns, the Steve Cunningham knockdown as well. It has happened. He can. I don't know if it's a lack of it's an attention problem or what it is, but no, he has been knocked down quite a few times in his career, but has obviously never suffered defeats. What do you think? How do you think Fury reacted to the knockdown, Greg? It was as you mentioned, you feel like it was a flash knockdown, but yeah, what did you think after when he kind of got back up and action resumed?
Elliot, I think his experience got him through. I think he thought with Deontay Wilder, with Steve Cunningham, one or two others, I've been here before, so I kind of know what I've got to do. But he didn't look great, and I gave him Ngannou the fourth round as well, Elliot. So I think he recovered well. He always does recover well, Tyson Fury, doesn't he? But I think that, yeah, I think it shocked him to his boots a little bit. I don't think he was greatly hurt, but I think it did make him a little bit more hesitant in how he approached the rest of the fight. So overall, I think he recovered from the knockdown well, but I do think he felt the pressure after that.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think it was such a massive shock to everyone, including him. And I think that, as you mentioned, it was got to that point where it got to the fourth round, the fifth round, when Fury must have been thinking, am I definitely gonna win this fight? Because he was arguably losing. Ngannou didn't seem to be slowing. And Fury just wasn't having a good day at the office, was he? It wasn't the Tyson Fury we've seen in the past. I thought he looked frightened at times. I thought he didn't look very confident, and we're used to him looking confident in fights. Fast forwarding, Greg, what's the next stage of the fight that kind of sticks out to you?
So, Elliot, I gave Tyson Fury rounds five and six. I thought he recovered quite well. After that, I gave seven and I believe eight to Ngannou. I think for me, Tyson Fury gave me the impression, Elliot, that he just felt he had to show up on Saturday, and that's where most fighters make the biggest mistakes of their life. The first fight that came to my mind was the same namesake, Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas. I think Mike Tyson was the wrecking man of the world at that point, and he got caught very, very unaware. I think Tyson Fury was the same. But the biggest thing for me in the fight, Elliot, and I've been looking forward to speaking to you about this, is Francis Ngannou didn't fall for Tyson Fury's feint. And I think that's what really, really bothered Tyson Fury. Because if you are in a fight and someone is jerking anytime they're going to hit you, your natural reaction is to anticipate what's coming. And big Francis Ngannou, I laugh, but he just looked like a guy. He was just standing looking at him as if, I don't care what you're going to throw here. So I think that caught Tyson Fury off guard because he was then worried about what was coming back. So yeah, in a nutshell for the viewers, I think Ngannou's failure to react to Tyson Fury's feint, I think that made the fight very, very close. And it was quite interesting, Elliot.
Yeah. You kind of saw I'm not as qualified to do what you've just done with the hand movements, so I'm not going to bother, but you could see it again and again happening, whether it be towards the start of the fight and towards the end of the fight. My question to you is, why do you think Ngannou wasn't bothered? Was it a case of he didn't care about what was coming back at him? Was it the case he knew he was very durable? He's taken big shots, like, flying elbows and big kicks to the head before in the past in the UFC. Why do you think he wasn't that bothered? Do you think it maybe kind of he felt Fury's power in the first couple of rounds and knew he couldn't bother it? Why do you think he just didn't seem fazed by it?
Honestly, Elliot, I think it was Francis Ngannou's inexperience and attitude. I honestly do. I'm not going to sit here and give him props and say he's went away, he's studied Fury's feint. I think that he's just thought, I'm going to have to eat some punches in this fight and look for more opportunities to come back. And I think he's just made peace with himself that at times Fury's going to do mad things, he's going to feint, he's going to try and hit him, and he's confident in his chin to take it and fire something back. If you look at it, Elliot, Conor McGregor done some really crazy things with Floyd Mayweather that we really didn't expect. And as I say, Elliot, I just think this is one of those events again where it's a guy who's inexperienced and he's just novice and doesn't do the things that maybe a top world-class heavyweight would do. And I think it just totally threw Tyson Fury off his game plan, and it was a very, very important part of the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very strange to see Tyson Fury in that position after kind of reigning supreme as he has done. Coming towards the end of the fight, Greg, what's like the final bit of analysis that you kind of you take from the fight?
As a boxing fan, Elliot, I was quite concerned getting into round 9 because I was like, I think Tyson Fury needs both these rounds.
Yeah.
And for me, he got them. I don't think he looked spectacular. I don't think the rounds were very wide, but he done enough to win them. And in the end, I think I scored it 95-94 to Fury. I think there was a lot of people who bought into the hype last night and they thought Francis Ngannou was robbed. If you're scoring a fight 95-94, you need to be prepared for people to maybe see it the same the other way or a draw. I totally respect that, but I think people need to calm down a little bit on it was a blatant Ngannou victory. If you go back and watch it again, it wasn't. It just wasn't. It was very close, and it was close because of the knockdown. And round 4, as I say, Ngannou went for it. You're already looking at a 3-point difference there, right away with 2 rounds. So that tallies up on the scorecards. But yeah, I think Fury's experience brought it through in the last 2 rounds. And it was a uncomfortable fight for a boxing fan to watch, because if Francis Ngannou won, then I don't think we would have ever heard the end of it as boxing fans.
Yeah, definitely. You worry what was happening next.
Yeah.
In terms of if there are going to be more crossover fights, and I think it demeans, it belittles the sport of boxing. Basically, well, I mean, it has done, because Francis Ngannou has given Fury the fight of his life, really. And here we are. just one question on those final two rounds, Greg. What was it? Do you think I agree with you about Fury winning the last two? Do you think it was a case of Ngannou had just kind of had gassed by that stage? He kind of had his mouth wide open, and it was just about to Fury had kind of been in those championship rounds, in those final rounds so many times in his career. Obviously, he's boxed 12-round fights so many times. Was it a case of just the experience that got him through? Or was there anything else to it?
I think you've hit both nails on the head, Elliot. It was both. I think Ngannou was slightly gassed, but I also think Tyson Fury thought, right, I need these last two rounds, and he just thought, do you know what? I'm clever enough to be able to outmaneuver him, make him look silly at times. But I think I don't want to be harsh on Francis Ngannou, but I do think there's a part when it maybe got to around 9 or 10, he thought to himself, I've done really good here, and I'm in my good shot of winning this fight. And he maybe just settled a little bit after that. I don't think he had too many more gears to go through, but I think it was more he was satisfied with his work, and Tyson Fury still had to prove something. So I think that's what won the last two rounds for him, Elliot. But they weren't clear-cut rounds. I totally appreciate other people's opinions, but I do think Fury did just nick the fight in the end.
No, brilliant. Obviously, won the fight via a split decision. Fun. I've just got one more question, Greg. What are you putting last night down to? Is it, we don't want to take anything away from Francis Ngannou here. When you consider what he's done, it's an amazing achievement. Is it more a case of Ngannou was actually can fight in a boxing ring, can hold himself? Or do you put it more down to Fury not taking it seriously, not being in the best shape? What's your reasoning for why what happened last night?
I think it's both reasons, Elliot. I think Francis Ngannou certainly shocked me. I think it was quite a mature performance for a guy who's never had a boxing fight. He done the fundamentals really well for someone who hasn't done it before. But we did see on the build up that he idolised boxing and Mike Tyson as he grew up. So this is a guy who he watched these guys. He probably works on it a lot in his game in the UFC. He's known as a bit of a puncher in the UFC, isn't he? So I think there's a part where he surprised us, but I also think Tyson Fury's attitude. I think Tyson Fury thought that he just had to show up last night. And I think that's a bad attitude to have. And he made it worse because in the interview, he said, I've had a 12-week hard training camp. And I just thought, no, you've not. You can't possibly have if that's the performance that you're pulling out. So I think Fury's underestimated him. And I think that Ngannou does the fundamentals very, very well. I think both of those things just clashed, and that's what made it a close fight.
Fantastic. And there we are. Greg, it'd be great to discuss this one with you. See what's next. We are still expecting Tyson Fury to fight Alexander Usyk in the beginning of 2024, and we'll see if Francis Ngannou returns to the boxing ring as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me, Elliot. Appreciate it as always.